Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hello.
Great to see you today.
Hello.
Welcome to this great panel. We're going to have about the role of technology in building a sustainable future. So, if you guys want, we can start with a quick round of introductions so everyone can know a bit of the work each of us is doing. So, I can start. My name is Andrea Camargo. I'm the founder of Refi Collective, an organization based in Bogota, Colombia. And we're leading the regenerative transition here in Latin America. It's a pleasure to be here. Who wants to jump in for the introduction?
I'll go ahead. Hi. I'm William Jackson. I am here in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm the CEO of Metaverse WP and My Quest to Teach, where we create metaverse environments to support the disabled and accessibility. So, thank you.
Thank you, William.
I'll jump in next. My name's Russell. I am the founder of Just Verify, and I'm also the director of partnerships at GatherVerse. And yeah, I like to keep my introductions short and sweet, so happy to be here as always.
I would go next. So my name is Sumaya, and I'm currently leading our technology and product teams as a chief product officer for a category-defining AI and Web 3.0 startup. I have 15 plus years of experience across 4 continents, multiple countries, and I specialize in technology, AI-driven B2B and B2C products, and building high-performing teams. And I'm happy to be here, and I would be more than happy to answer the questions of our audiences and engage in the discussion on this topic. Thank you.
Okay, I can go next. My name is Ganesh Raju. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I also focus a lot on AI. I have a company that we have EV charging manufacturing facility that focuses on the manufacturing of EV charging equipment and software solutions for EV charging. I also have a company that focuses on Web3, AI, and digital twins and IoT. I also have another company that we focus on energy management system, how AI can optimize microgrids and energy storage in general. Right. So that's about me. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Ganesh.
I'll be happy to go next. I'm Thomas R. Wilson. I run RNH Creative Advocacy and Storytelling. We are an organization dedicated to utilizing creativity and stories in a variety of ways to help people within the neurodiverse, mental health, and many other communities. Especially we use technology to help bring in the idea of accessibility, expand what it looks like, but also examine how creativity in general via technology or otherwise can ultimately be used to empower people and raise up voices in a world that so often wants to take it away. I will leave it short and sweet there, but I do quite a bit, wear all the hats, I say. We don't have enough time for me to get into everything, but thank you for having me here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I guess I'm the last person. So I'm called Humphrey Mukaga. I'm the founder of Green Change Initiative. We're an organization that is found in Kenya. So basically what we are involved in, we are working with the university students where we have partnered. We do cleanups and also collections of litter, and later on we recycle the plastic bottles. So basically that's what we do, and happy to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's a real pleasure to have all these amazing minds here all together. So let's start with our first question. I would like to address this one to Ganesh. So how do you think technology can help create a long-term environmental stability?
Well, I think AI and all this new technology, emerging technology that has come out recently, is something that enhances the ability to the sustainable future, right? So I see a lot more potential in various ways, right? So AI-driven smart grids, just by it can reduce the energy waste up to 20% just by integrating AI into it, right? So having blockchain used for carbon tracing can eliminate greenwashing. That is something that is happening a lot in that area, right? You can start tracking and use the blockchain for that. You could use digital twins in industries to eliminate waste and have a better sustainable future. Some of the studies say that just using digital twin, having predictive analytics can save up to 30% of your cost. You could simulate everything through digital twin, and eliminate waste in the materials, right? So I'm super passionate about AI in general. I see now everybody is talking about AI, and AI just brings in so much potential in every possible way. It affects every single industry, name it manufacturing, transportation, and anything else. So just incorporating AI, using the data, having better traceability with other technologies like blockchain, right? So those are the potential that I see with the technology.
Thank you, Ganesh. Someone else wants to jump in this question? Go ahead, Russell.
Yeah, I also think when it comes to AI, I know obviously there's a lot going on around obviously the energy sector and also with building the data centers, etc. From that standpoint. But eventually, from all kind of like the research and stuff that I've done, is that energy will be eventually created by AI itself, right? As in, it'll be self-efficient. It'll create new forms of electricity, and it will eventually be able to, keep bringing itself over when it in terms of the electricity standpoint. So you hear a lot about it going on, and obviously how it's adding to electricity right now on global warming, which obviously I completely agree with. But over time, as we build more data centers, build more AI, and build more sort of like energy efficiencies within that, and also making it sustainable, eventually AI will be able to do itself and create its own electricity, and then be able to be self-sufficient. So in terms of that standpoint of AI, that's why I think in that side of things. And in terms of blockchain, blockchain is very environmentally friendly anyway now compared to what it used to be. So it has transformed a lot over the years. And I think when it comes to sort of like certain blockchains like Tezos, even certain blockchains like Flow blockchain, etc., a lot of these blockchains are less than like a light switch now, or even a tweet that you do on Twitter, or X as it's called now. So I think when it comes to the environmental side and stability, we still have a long way to go, but I think it's getting there in terms of the blockchain side and also the AI side.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, you want to jump in, Sumaya?
Yes, Andrea, I would like to add here, although Ganesh and Russell made valid points, but I think that being someone who has been involved with AI for more than a decade, and I've seen the evolution of AI when it was not even used to be called AI since then until now, and I've been working in industry. I think they made valid points, but we have to be very mindful considering that yes, AI has a lot of potential, but that potential will not realize itself until we make a very deliberate effort here. And what I mean exactly by that, just assuming that building a lot of data centers or using data will be environment friendly or will provide environmental stability, well, the data right now and statistics right now says otherwise. And I'll give a very specific example. So when we talk about large language models or very large language models and even small language models, we have recently recently seen the comparison between what, for example, chat gpt is using in terms of their hardware or gpu capacity as compared to what deepseek is using. And even if we see a huge difference there, but still the amount of energy which is required to run the hardware for any LLM and VLM and even SLM is huge. It's humongous. Their carbon footprint is equally huge. So just assuming that building data centers or using data will increase the environmental stability, I think it's from a theoretical point of view, it's correct. But when you work in industry and you look at the actual impact or the carbon footprint on the environment, right now for AI, it's huge, and so it is for blockchain. So we as humans have to be very deliberate. We have to make concentrated and vertically integrated efforts, as we call them in industry, in order to minimize the carbon footprint if we want environmental stability, while continuing our exploration with AI and blockchain both.
Wow, love this point, and I will pass the word to you, William. But I really love what you're saying, Sumaria, because there are so many perspectives in terms of the relationship of technology and sustainability, and these perspectives sometimes are based on our own paradigms and our mental models. And if we go a bit deeper and we start questioning these paradigms, we open up so many questions and so many more perspectives that right now I think this conversation is creating. So go ahead, William. Thank you.
And I appreciate all the perspectives that everyone is providing and more to come. But I think we cannot forget the fact that we must teach our young people how to effectively use and apply AI, because they're using it in schools, but unfortunately, because they don't have the guidance and the background and the mentorship, that they're using it in inappropriate ways. One of the things we need to focus on is gaining the comprehensive status of teaching our students in professional development and guiding them and mentoring them, because it was mentioned before, teachers don't have the time during the instructional day. So whether it's a workshop for the students, and I always believe in professional development for students, not just for teachers, because after teaching 33 years, we still need to get our students involved and engaged with hands-on project development. But the case of the use of the energy, the use of the data, all of that students need to be aware of so they can manage it and they can be prepared for the future. How else can these businesses and industries hire employees that are functional and ready to go in these environments if they don't have the preliminary training? One of the things we've noticed is globally, there's a different perspective of AI. When we're teaching in Africa, African students have a different perception of AI than the students that we teach in Central and South America. Students in Europe have a different perspective in how to use AI as opposed to students in South America. So collectively, we need to look at each individual dynamics and focus on an instructional model or curriculum or project-based learning to get them to understand the basic concepts of how it applies around the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much, William. I definitely agree with what you're saying. Think globally and act locally. So let's move to our next question. I want to address this question especially to Humphrey and Thomas. So what advancements are proving most effective in addressing resource challenges right now?
I'll jump in right now. So I think a lot of it, like my perspective is very different than a lot of people on the chat, but I think for me, a lot of my focus comes from the accessibility to people in the community and making sure that we can get tools and technology out to people. And I think, especially when we talk about like the neurodiverse, mental health, people with lived experience in any diagnosis, one of the hardest things really is getting resources out to people. There is a lot out there. There's a lot of tools, a lot of capacity, a lot of things. But unfortunately, especially when it's like families or students, or there is a lot of, ambiguity. I work with a lot of people on day to day that would benefit from AI and technology in general. but the knowledge just isn't out there. Being someone working in the field, it's very easy for me to know what is there, but so often families at home, especially if they're living with like autism or something that impedes their ability to get into community, they don't always know. And it's interesting because when we look at technology and resources, it can be very, like I keep saying, it can be very obvious to go, oh, these are them. But it's very important to know that there are a lot of impediments in that process. And whether or not it's on a website, whether or not it's AI, I think the other thing that really comes into it is the education element on how to use those resources. Unfortunately, so many people in this world in general, they have things that are waiting for people to utilize. They have things that can better their lives. But there's also just so many blocks, there are so many challenges that people face on a day-to-day basis. And I think when we talk about advancements, one of the great things about this effectiveness is our human connection. I know a lot of people, they complain about the internet or they think it's bad, but we live in this era in which technology and advancements are more accessible. We have more resources to get out to people. We have more ways to get that information out. We have more ways to help people. And I think one of the most effective ways to do that is these conversations and also this advancement in technology. We live in this era where we have never been information-wise. We live in an era where we can go out and we can hold spaces that can be virtual and present. And we also have this advancement in the idea of how to better communicate. Like I say, many people are worried about our state of humanity, but when we look at things through a strength-based mindset and utilize these advancements well, we have this wonderful capacity to be unified and connected in human ways that are profound and outstanding.
Thank you, Thomas. Really powerful. Please, Humphrey, go ahead.
Yeah, so having been working in the recycling industry, where we do bottle recycling, where we work with students around universities in Kenya. One of the things that I've found is, coming from Kenya, where I'll say that there's actually no culture, like there's a little culture of conservation. One of the things that we are doing is we are going and educating and sensitizing the communities and also the students in universities, because these are the people, they come from like the remote areas and the local areas of the country. So what we are doing is to sensitize them on how we can recycle and separate the different litter or trash that we collect, and then from there we do the recycling, and that has proven to be efficient in addressing the challenge of the plastic bottles that we have been seeing around most of the towns and also around the universities. Also, one of the things that I'll say is personally, I have a background in architecture. So one of the things that I've also been advocating as one of the in the construction industry is the use of green materials, where we refer to them as green architecture. So nowadays we have like different materials that are coming out as energy efficient, and also they have a longer lifespan. So when you're using these materials, you are conserving first of all, you are reducing the impact on the environment, and also the lifespan of the materials is also an efficient way of addressing the challenge of the scarce resources that we we have.
Just to understand it better, did you say dream materials?
Yeah, I meant I meant it's called green architecture.
Green
So
architecture.
this is where,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Humphrey. Yeah, and I think that some of the ways we think about resources have been very limited to scarcity. And when we start to open our minds into, okay, what does nature can provide, and of course nature is really really abundant, then how can we have this mindset towards resources, not in a scarce but in a more abundant way, right? So thank you for your comments. Let's go to the next question. How can new developments reduce harm to the environment? And all of these questions have been really really connected, but anyone who wants to jump in right now to answer this question would be great. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Willie.
If you don't mind, I want to address that by repeating what Humphrey was saying about the developments across Africa. The irony about our plastics is that it's affecting countries that really don't produce the plastic, but they're suffering because of plastic in our oceans. And if you look at some of the recycling and refurbishment, redevelopment programs in Africa across that continent as a whole are phenomenal. Even though they don't create the plastic, they're directly being affected because of the trash in the oceans. So globally, what needs to be done is collaborating and working with countries across the continent and reinforcing what they're trying to do, because they're making phenomenal progress, even with the lack of funding and the lack of industrial resources that are benefiting the economy and the environment. So when you have countries like the United States that really take it for granted what we're producing, but when we dump it, we don't care where it goes, just to be honest, or across certain places in Europe where they are trying their best, but they're coming across challenges. We need to look at other countries and collaborate and work with them and even copy what they're doing to support them, as opposed to ignoring them, because we do a dishonest and an injustice to our environment, which in the next few years is really going to catch up with us. We're looking at climatic changes now, but just imagine, oceans of trash that are washing up on our beaches, which are happening now, but on resort areas, on supposedly safe areas in the oceans and the seas. And that will really influence the environmental conditions of the plant life and animal life that we rely on. So thank you.
I would like to build on that, specifically given the fact that this topic or this question is very close to my heart. And the reason for that is that I have worked across 4 continents, 25 plus countries, and I've visited even more. So my work takes me to places, and I'm like pretty much a global citizen. But I would also like to highlight the facts, building on what William said, that it's not that we are talking about some far-fetched future when we talk about that how these new technological developments can reduce the harm to environment. I'm a very data-driven person, so I will give examples here, like real-life examples. In 2022, Pakistan, which only contributes less than 1% to the global warming, went through the worst floods in last 50 years, and the floods impact has taken them back by 50 years. So a developing nation which is already struggling, and now the floods came in and it took them back by 50 years. And the reason for flood, according to all the data, is the global warming produced by the developed countries, including US and Europe, which are contributing more than 50% to the global warming. So the point which William made is really pertinent here, that we need to have a global perspective. We need to educate ourselves, all of us here, and through our talks to our global audience, that we need to have a holistic perspective here, come out of our own bubbles and just repeating the things which we hear from some industry leaders, that yes, technology is doing a lot of good, but technology has the other side or other impact of it as well. And we have to expand our horizons to look at real life data. And this is the point where I think that environmental data or collecting climate data or collecting the impact of this technology on our overall environment will do us a lot of favor as species, as human species altogether, because looking at one part of the world suffering so much, and this is just one example out of hundreds. In interest of, I can give 100, but in interest of time, I'll just keep it there. And I'll just say that we really need to utilize data in order to see that the technology which we are using right now, because people talk about a lot about, for example, blockchain or Web 3.0, they don't realize that if you're using it for financial services or for mining, the environmental impact which you are making or the carbon footprint which you are leaving is devastating. So it's not the technology which gives edge to us, it's the holistic knowledge and utilization of data for mitigating real life problems which we need to focus on. And with that, I will also like to end on a positive note that companies like, for example, IBM, I know that they are using Watson X, which is their AI capability or cognitive capability, as they like to call it. They have been utilizing AI and data in, for example, South American countries to mitigate some of these climate impacts by using predictive analytics upfront. So this is what technology is required to be used, rather than just focusing on, just the charm or the buzzword of AI or Web 3.0 or building big data centers in these developed countries, and without realizing how it's impacting our brothers and sisters in the other parts of the world, because people are suffering real time. They have been suffering for past few years because of the technology which we use. And I will finally connect it back to what Thomas said, based on community initiatives and impact. Technology is only good if it's serving the community. And for me, community is all human community all around the world. Thank you.
If I can jump in just really quickly.
Thomas.
I want to say thank you everyone for this conversation. This is an amazing topic. I really love the honesty in this. The only thing that I will add to this is I think we also need to rethink and reutilize how we use education, particularly on the idea of the environment and all of these topics. It's a running joke in a lot of TV shows that you can't scare kids anymore or you can't do things. And I think when we look at, especially like younger generations, there is so much social consciousness in so many younger kids nowadays, more than I know I had when I was that age. And so I think when we look at these topics, it's really important to look back on how we teach, how we spread this information, because so many people are taught how we want them to learn, how we want them to gather information, how to utilize these things. I think we need to step back and apply more empathy and patience in our education systems on a variety of topics. I know that I grew up with people trying to scare me into being into recycling, into being more eco-friendly. It did not work. It shamed me. It made me more upset. If I didn't put something away, it was very upsetting. But youth nowadays, there's a lot of evidence to support this. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to try to be too long. But when we teach people how they actually learn, when we provide lessons and education in a capacity that is encouraging, fosters that understanding, that real world application, people learn better. And I think that as we go, as our world changes, because it's going to, if we can step back and actually collaborate with our students, collaborate with the generations that are coming up, we can really tackle these ideas. And we can, and I know William sent in the chat an amazing message about having to have unification through communication and collaboration. And I think we really need to implement that in education, and we can raise the generations that are coming up now and future generations on that understanding that knowledge is a collaborative aspect, and that our environment needs to be a collaborative aspect, and that technology in general, like it was said just a moment ago, if it doesn't work for the community, and not just our local communities, but the world, it doesn't work. And I think that's a really important thing to highlight.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I definitely think these narrative changes that not only we spread into our community, but especially children and students, are crucial for us to really get involved into, creating action and change towards a more sustainable or regenerative world. Let's go into this question because I'm conscious of our time. So, how do partnerships across industries accelerate progress in sustainability? And I really like this question because it expands into a more systemic, cross-cultural talk in today's panel. So please go ahead, anyone who wants to start.
Well, I'll go ahead if nobody else is. One of the important things is sharing in the classroom, and I'll refer back to the classroom and business environment, is that project-based learning is very important because you have to embed in each project the cultural background of your students. You do your students and even your employees where you work at disadvantage and discounting their backgrounds and their culture and their heritage, because they bring that along with them to apply in their learning and their engagement and the efficiency of their work. So many of the projects that my wife and I created when we're teaching are finding out the backgrounds. Where are they from? Latin America. What part of Latin America, whether it's Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Colombia, or wherever, how can we embed those cultural backgrounds into the projects that they're doing? Because when you're learning and teaching, you want your students, and in this case, also in business, your employees, to take that information and apply it outside of that current environment, because this spreads the awareness of what needs to be improved, what needs to be changed, what needs to be adapted, what needs to be blended, who you can collaborate with to make effective change. And I think sometimes we forget about that because we look at all of us as human beings, yes, but our cultural backgrounds and dynamics make us think a particular way and behave a particular way, excuse me, because of our background and history. So when we're collectively here together, we're taking all this information and hopefully we're not keeping it in ourselves, but we're sharing it with our backgrounds and our cultures and our communities. So that way we know who we can collaborate on future projects. So, thank you.
Thank you, William. And sharing a bit of my personal story, I really had this experience of integrating different industries in the work we do right now. I started as a veterinarian, and now I do impact investment and connect different projects across Latin America with global impact investors. So I really think this mindset related to nature and biology is really creating a different, let's say, strategy for our projects, integrating, for example, biomimicry and nature-based solutions into the technological development, so we can create this evolution of technology that has already kind of embedded this sustainability mindset inside. Ganesh, I want to call you out here because I think your perspective will be really, really powerful here.
Yeah, absolutely. The question about partnership across industry, when it comes to that, I see that the partnership needs to be between the corporates as individuals, as a community, the corporates and the government, right? As a whole, right? So from government being involved in the regulations, I don't just see them as a guardrails, but enabler in and providing clear directions and giving incentives to help the sustainability, right? So that's how I see from the government standpoint, and that should come to the corporates as well, the incentives and how they can adapt and how they can partner, not just in the corporate individually, but across the other corporates as well, how they can partner with other corporates and look at help this sustainability, right? So the challenges would be in that case, right, how the data is shared between corporates. That's where the government should step in and create proper guidance, incentives, and help the sharing of data between the corporates, and make it open and use the data and the technology to help the sustainability.
Really, really important points. Yes, go ahead, Maya.
I would just quickly like to add on, Andrea, what you mentioned earlier. I believe that we need three distinct types of partnerships. So one partnership is across the industry among corporates, nonprofits, and governments. So that's what I mean by the industry partnerships. The other partnership, which I would say we need, is a cross-functional partnership, which you mentioned earlier, Andrea. For example, from my research, I utilize AI, machine learning, and deep learning for biotechnology, bioengineering, and bioinformatics. And that's the cross-functional partnerships which we need in order to fully drive or fully reap the impact of technology. The third type of partnership which we need is cross or cross geographical partnerships or global partnerships. Again, I'll link it back to the point which I made earlier, that until and unless we take different regions and their needs, specific community needs or grassroots level needs into account, and we combine all of that data together and bring it together to make holistic solutions using the technology. If that partnership, that across geographical partnership is not there, we will not be able to reap the benefits of technology or the maximum potential of the technology. So these are the three distinct types of partnerships which I see on the basis of my work and research, which we need. Some is happening, but we need to put a lot of more work and efforts there.
Thank you so much, Sumaya. A great summary of these three type of partnerships. Humphrey, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience into the public-private sustainability initiatives you're leading?
Yeah. When you're talking about partnerships, I think there's also a perspective on where I'm looking at it from the informational exchange just between continents. So these I'm looking at how countries, if you look at as William had said, the developed countries, they're really the impact on the environment, the kind of pollution and what they are releasing to the environment is a big they're contributing a lot to the environmental damage, I'll say. But if you look at countries in Africa, they're really contributing a very small percentage of carbon dioxide and the greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. So I was looking at a perspective whereby industries in Africa, either in the US or in the industries in Europe or industries in Asia, where there's that big production of greenhouse gases to the environment, they can benchmark and come to the countries in Africa and see what are they doing so that the environmental and the greenhouse emission to the environment is low. That was what I'm looking at.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Humphrey. I want to jump to this question because I know it's kind of what we're all striving for in this panel. Like, how can we balance these short-term results with long-term sustainability, resilience, regeneration. It has many names, but we all want to do the best for our planet, for our community. But of course, this traditional narrative of progress, upon destroying our planet or extracting resources, has been dominated since many years now. So how can we really start to innovate in these short-term results without losing the long-term vision?
I'll jump in this one. For some reason, I got knocked off with the internet, so I have no idea what happened or what's been discussed. So bear with me if I do repeat anything or anyone said or etc. But I think balancing short-term results with long-term sustainability, I think you can set specific goals and KPIs within your organization, right, in order to be able to balance that, right? So you can have the long-term goal of sustainability of what you want it to be, and then in the short term, you can reduce your carbon footprint as much as possible, whether that's offsetting, whether that's through carbon credits, or whatever sort of initiative that you want to use. So I think you can find a balance between both, as in the long-term goal of what you want to achieve versus also the short-term, how you can reduce that as much as possible, whether that means flying less, whether that means whatever way you want to do it, like less plastic, whatever it may be. I think you can find that balance between those both. And I think if you have certain KPIs in which you limit yourself within and keeping your carbon footprints low internally within your organization, then I think that's a kind of a nice way to sort of balance that. Because at the end of the day, we all can only do what we can do. And also, how you were saying earlier with collaboration, right? I think obviously that's key as well. But I think we can all do our part individually and kind of how we can do that. But also at the same time, we can have a long-term strategy or goal which we want to achieve that we can, head towards overall in the right direction. So that's kind of like what I think. And that's what I would personally do in Just Verify and everything like that. So
thank you, Russell. Someone else wants to comment on this one?
I'll jump in. So I think when we balance short-term results with long-term sustainability, one thing that I would emphasize is not forgetting about us as people, and really emphasizing, whether it's the community, whether it's one person, whether it's a group of people, whatever it is, we have to be able to make sustainable something that is accessible to everyone. I know there's a lot of mindsets around accessibility and things. A lot of people have some frustration with it, but at its core, sustainability and accessibility really are just about benefiting everyone in the community and allowing people to live their best life as much as they can. And I think one of the things that really is a core aspect of sustainability, a couple things. One of them is community, right? If we have community members who cannot access or utilize things, then they are realistically not part of the sustainability mindset. And we need to remember that. And I think the other thing is, when it comes to sustainability, especially long-term sustainability, it is best to build our programs, our desires, our technology in ways in which all people can benefit. And I know there's always like the mindset of like, Skynet from Terminator and things and all these different things. But we as human beings are incredibly capable. We are incredibly wise, and we know how to build things that can benefit people. So I think we have to go with that community, that collaboration mindset going forward. And I know it can be cost effective. It can be easier. It can be less labor. But when we cut people out of things for the sake of sustainability, like I said, it's not sustainability. It is a short-term plan that's ultimately going to fail.
Can I quickly add to that?
Yes, 1 minute.
Sure. I'll quickly add to that. So being an engineer, I think one of the approaches which I would take to this is reverse engineering. So think about the long-term goals first, because those are the goals which matter for us as a collective human species and for this planet. And then reverse engineering back from the end long-term goals, that what are the short-term targets or short-term results we need to achieve in order to reach to those long-term goals. So that's way the entire system is integrated, but through reverse engineering. That's what I use in my day-to-day work, that meeting long-term targets or goals and reverse engineering from those to build my short-term goals or results. So I think if we can use that for environment, again, with a collective approach and a collective end goal in mind, that could be a very good approach to use.
So can I just add something as well? Sorry, just to jump into.
Really
I know we've run out of time, but one thing I will also say is in terms of AI and also, technology side, if technology side gets used in the right way too, that could be really beneficial as well. But it just has to be used in the right way as well, in terms for short term and also long term as well. But anyway, that's all I wanted to add. Thank you, Andrea.
No, thank you guys for this amazing conversation. I learned so much. Let's definitely connect and keep collaborating for creating this common future we all want to be in. It was a pleasure to have this conversation, and see you soon. Our Gather was well. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having us, Andrea.
No, thank you guys.